10 years from now, your job, the very foundation of your daily life, could be a memory, a relic of a bygone era. Your city, the familiar streets and skylines you navigate without a thought, could look utterly unrecognizable, reshaped by forces you cannot yet see. The way you eat, the way you travel, the very way you think and perceive the world around you could be completely, irrevocably different. This is not a distant fantasy, a tale spun for entertainment. This is not science fiction. This is the near future, a reality hurtling towards us with astonishing speed, its contours already taking shape in the present moment. In the next 30 minutes, we will journey together to the edge of what is to come. We will pull back the curtain on 7 shocking predictions for the next decade. These are not wild guesses or fanciful dreams. They are projections grounded in the hard data of science, the relentless march of technology, and the complex tapestry of global events already in motion around us. We stand on a precipice, looking out at a landscape of profound change, a world being reborn in fire and code, in crisis and in creation. The familiar signposts are fading, and a new map is being drawn before our very eyes. By the end of our journey, you will see with startling clarity why the next 10 years are poised to be the fastest, most disruptive, and perhaps the most dangerous decade in all of human history. The pace of change is accelerating beyond our comprehension, challenging the very institutions and beliefs that have defined us for centuries. We're entering an age of unprecedented challenges, but also of unparalleled opportunity. The question is not whether this future will arrive, but whether we will be ready for it when it does. Are we prepared to adapt, to evolve, to become something new? The future does not wait for an invitation. It arrives unannounced, reshaping our world without our consent. It is a force of nature, a cosmic tide pulling us forward into the unknown. We can either be swept away by this current, tossed about by its chaotic power, or we can learn to navigate its currents. To do that, we must first understand it. We must look unflinchingly at the transformations that await us, from the automation of our livelihoods to the very redefinition of what it means to be private, to be human. Our story begins now. For decades, we have viewed artificial intelligence as a helpful assistant, a clever tool to organize our photos, recommend our next purchase, or navigate our commute. We saw it as an extension of our own will, a digital servant designed to make our lives incrementally easier. But this comfortable illusion is beginning to shatter. We are witnessing the dawn of a new era, where AI is no longer merely assisting us, but is preparing to surpass us. The transition from digital assistant to autonomous agent is happening faster than any expert predicted. A silent revolution unfolding in the servers and data centers that form the new backbone of our civilization. The numbers are staggering, almost impossible to fully comprehend. Global economists and technologists now project that within the next decade, over 300 million jobs worldwide will be automated. This is not just the mechanization of factory lines or the digitization of simple data entry. This is a seismic shift that will ripple through every sector of the economy. It is the creative writer, the paralegal, the financial analyst, the software coder, the radiologist. Roles once thought to be the exclusive domain of the human intellect are now falling within the grasp of sophisticated algorithms capable of learning, reasoning, and creating at a scale we cannot match. This is not a simple replacement of one tool with another, like the tractor replacing the plow. This is a fundamental rewiring of the very concept of labor. The value we have placed on human expertise, on years of training and accumulated knowledge, is being challenged by systems that can acquire that same knowledge in a fraction of the time. The very definition of productivity is being rewritten in a language of processing power and data efficiency. We are standing at the threshold of a world where human effort in many fields may become economically obsolete, a luxury rather than a necessity. The coming decade will force a painful reckoning with our identity as a species of toolmakers and problem solvers. What is our purpose when the tools we create can solve problems better than we can? The societal implications are immense, touching everything from our educational systems to our social safety nets. The Great Automation is not merely an economic event, it is a profound philosophical challenge. It asks us to confront a future where our role in the world is no longer guaranteed, where we must find new meaning in an age of intelligent machines. Privacy. It is a concept we hold dear, a right we believe to be fundamental to our freedom and our individuality. It is the sanctuary of our own thoughts, the sanctity of our homes, the quiet confidence that our lives are our own. But this cherished ideal is fading. It is becoming a ghost, a relic of an analog age. We are right now weaving an invisible net of surveillance around ourselves, one smart device, one social media post, one consent to terms and conditions click at a time. And in the next decade, this net will be drawn tight, rendering the very concept of a private life obsolete. Every device we own is becoming a sensor in a vast, interconnected network. Your smartphone tracks your location, your smartwatch monitors your heart rate, your smart speaker listens to your conversations, your car logs your driving habits, and your social media feed maps your emotional state. Each piece of data, seemingly innocuous on its own, is a single thread. But when woven together by powerful AI algorithms, these threads create a detailed, high-resolution tapestry of your life, revealing patterns and predicting behaviors you may not even be aware of yourself. This data is the new oil, the most valuable resource of the 21st century, and two powerful entities are racing to drill for it: corporations and governments. For corporations, it is the key to unprecedented marketing precision, allowing them to understand your desires, anticipate your needs, and influence your decisions with surgical accuracy. They are no longer just selling you products, they are mining your psyche for profit, transforming your personal life into a commodity to be bought and sold on a digital marketplace without your explicit moment-to-moment consent. For governments, this same data offers the promise of ultimate security and social control. It is a tool to predict crime, to identify dissent, and to monitor the population with a level of omniscience previously reserved for gods. The trade-off is presented as a simple one. Give up your privacy for more safety, more convenience, more efficiency. But what is the true cost of this bargain? We are building a world where every action is recorded, every word is logged, and every deviation from the norm is flagged. This is the invisible net, and we are its willing captives. For millennia, we have built our civilizations upon a bedrock of predictable seasons and stable shores. We charted our maps, erected our cities, and planted our fields, all under the assumption that the world beneath our feet was a constant, a given in the equation of human existence. But what if that fundamental assumption was wrong? What if the very ground we stand on, the air we breathe, and the waters that sustain us are in a state of profound and accelerating flux? We are now living through that very shift, a planetary transformation that is beginning to unravel the tapestry of our settled world, thread by thread, forcing us to confront a future of movement and uncertainty. The engine of this great unraveling is a force of our own making. The accumulated heat from our industrial age, trapped within our atmosphere, is not merely warming our planet, it is rewriting its operating system. It melts ancient glaciers, swells the oceans, and fuels storms of unprecedented fury. The delicate climate balances that have governed life for eons are being thrown into chaos. The lines we drew on our maps, delineating nations and ecosystems, are becoming meaningless as deserts expand, forests burn, and coastlines retreat. This is not a distant problem for future generations, it is the urgent unfolding reality of our own. This unraveling will not be a gentle or equitable process. It will be a story of loss, of homes and histories submerged beneath the waves. Consider the coastal cities, the glittering hubs of culture and commerce where hundreds of millions of people live. These metropolises, once symbols of human ingenuity and our command over nature, are now on the front lines of a battle they cannot win. Their foundations are being eroded, their infrastructure threatened, and their very existence hangs in the balance. The question is no longer if they will be abandoned, but when and where will their people go? The first waves of this migration have already begun, though we may not always label them as such. They are the farmers in the Sahel, driven from their desiccated lands by relentless drought. They are the villagers in Bangladesh, fleeing homes washed away by catastrophic floods. They are the islanders of the Pacific, watching their nations shrink with every high tide. These are not isolated incidents, but the opening scenes of a much larger human drama, a mass movement of people on a scale unseen in recorded history, a great unraveling that will redefine the very concept of home for millions. For 10,000 years, human civilization has been built upon the foundation of agriculture. The simple, revolutionary act of planting a seed and reaping a harvest allowed us to settle, to build cities, to create art, and to dream of the stars. The farmer has been the bedrock of our existence, a symbol of our connection to the earth and its cycles of life. But the very systems of traditional farming that have sustained us for so long are now buckling under the immense pressure of a changing climate and a soaring global population. The age of the traditional harvest, as we have known it for millennia, may be coming to an end. The challenges are converging from all sides, creating a perfect storm for our global food supply. Persistent droughts are turning fertile plains into dust bowls, while extreme rainfall and flooding wash away topsoil and ruin crops. Shifting temperature zones are introducing new pests and diseases to agricultural heartlands. Devastating yields, the predictable rhythms of planting and harvesting which have guided farmers for generations, have been replaced by a terrifying uncertainty. Our ancient partnership with the land is breaking down, and the consequences for a species of 8 billion and growing are dire. The sheer scale of our demand is unsustainable. Traditional livestock farming, in particular, is a colossal drain on the planet's resources. It consumes vast tracts of land, enormous quantities of water, and produces a significant portion of the greenhouse gases that are fueling the climate crisis in the first place. We've created a system that is simultaneously destroying the environment it depends on for its own survival. It is a self-defeating cycle, a paradox that we can no longer afford to ignore. To feed the future, we must break free from the methods of the past. This is not a prediction of some distant apocalypse. It is a description of a crisis that is already underway. Food prices are becoming more volatile, supply chains are more fragile, and hunger is on the rise in many parts of the world. The end of the traditional harvest does not mean the end of food, but it does mean the end of an era. It signals the urgent, non-negotiable necessity for a profound revolution in how we produce what we eat. We are being forced to reinvent our most basic act of sustenance, not as a matter of choice, but as a matter of survival. For most of human history, space has been a realm of dreams, a distant canopy of lights reserved for gods, poets, and a handful of government-backed astronauts. The heavens were a destination for the chosen few, a symbol of national power and prestige. But the old rules of exploration are being rewritten. We are now in the midst of a new space race, but this time the competitors are not just superpowers. They are visionary billionaires, agile startups, and ambitious private companies, all vying to open the final frontier, not for flags and footprints, but for commerce and colonization. This new race is driven by a different fuel, a potent mixture of entrepreneurial ambition, technological innovation, and a belief that humanity's future lies beyond the confines of Earth. Companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic have shattered the old monopoly held by government agencies like NASA. They have pioneered reusable rocket technology, drastically lowering the cost of reaching orbit and transforming space from a prohibitively expensive venture into a viable commercial marketplace. The launchpad is no longer just a symbol of national pride, it is a gateway to a new economic ecosystem. The goals of this new era are as audacious as they are diverse. We are no longer just visiting space, we are moving in. The agenda includes not only launching satellites and ferrying astronauts to the International Space Station, but also establishing luxury hotels in orbit, mining asteroids for precious resources, building permanent bases on the Moon, and ultimately creating a self-sustaining human settlement on Mars. These are not distant, century-long ambitions. They are active business plans, with timelines measured in years, not generations. This shift from public to private leadership marks a fundamental turning point in our cosmic journey. It democratizes access to space, unleashing a wave of innovation and competition that is accelerating our progress at an unprecedented rate. But it also raises critical questions. Who writes the laws in space when corporations get there first? How do we ensure that the bounty of the solar system benefits all of humanity, not just the shareholders of a few powerful companies? The new space race is not just about technology, it is about defining the rules for our species' next great expansion. For millennia, the human form has been defined by the limits of biology, a delicate dance of flesh and bone, of synapses and sinew. We have accepted these boundaries as fundamental truths of our existence. But what if the very definition of human is about to undergo its most profound transformation? We stand at the precipice of an era where the line between organic life and synthetic creation begins to dissolve, not in the realm of science fiction, but in the laboratories and operating rooms of our world. The question is no longer if we will merge with our technology, but how we will manage the consequences when we do. This is not just an upgrade, it is a redefinition of our species. What begins as a noble quest to heal the afflicted soon blossoms into a desire to enhance the able. The first steps are already underway with sophisticated prosthetics that restore movement with uncanny precision and cochlear implants that bring sound to a world of silence. These are the heralds of a new age, but the technology will not stop at restoration. Soon, it will offer augmentation. Imagine bionic limbs that grant strength beyond our natural capabilities, or artificial eyes that can see in spectrums invisible to us, from infrared to ultraviolet. The human sensorium, once limited by evolution, could become a customizable palette of perception. The true frontier, however, lies not in the limbs, but in the mind. Brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs, represent the ultimate convergence of human consciousness and digital information. Early iterations are already allowing paralyzed individuals to control robotic arms with their thoughts alone. But as this technology matures, its potential will explode. We could soon be downloading knowledge directly into our neural pathways, learning a new language or a complex skill in mere moments. Our memories could be stored externally, backed up, and even shared. The very concept of learning, of experience, could be fundamentally and irrevocably altered by this direct synaptic link. We are venturing into a reality where our bodies and minds become platforms, open to upgrades and modifications, much like the software on our devices. The biological hardware we were born with may soon be seen as merely version 1.0. This evolution, driven by our own ingenuity, will challenge our deepest notions of identity, mortality, and what it means to be human. Are we still human if parts of us are machine? Is a thought still our own if it is processed through a silicon chip? These are the questions that will echo through the coming decade as we begin the great work of upgrading ourselves. For the better part of a century, the world has revolved around a familiar economic and political axis. A center of gravity dominated by North America and Western Europe, a unipolar or bipolar order that dictated the flow of capital, innovation, and influence. But the tectonic plates of global power are shifting beneath our feet. This movement is not a sudden tremor, but a slow, inexorable grind that is reshaping the geopolitical landscape for generations to come. The old centers of power are not so much collapsing as they are seeing their relative influence wane in the face of new rising titans. The most profound shift is the dramatic re-emergence of Asia as the world's economic engine. Led by the colossal manufacturing and technological might of China and the burgeoning demographic and digital power of India, this new center of gravity is pulling the world eastward. China's Belt and Road Initiative is not merely an infrastructure project. It is a deliberate strategy to create new trade networks and spheres of influence that pivot away from the West. Simultaneously, India's rapidly growing middle class and its dominance in software and services are creating an economic powerhouse that can no longer be ignored. But this is not just an Asian story. A demographic dividend is beginning to pay off across the African continent. With the world's youngest population, Africa is poised to become a critical hub of labor, consumption, and innovation. As nations like Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Kenya invest in technology, infrastructure, and education, they are unlocking immense economic potential. The narrative of Africa is rapidly changing from one of aid to one of investment and partnership. The continent is no longer a passive recipient of global trends, but an active shaper of its own and the world's economic future. The consequences of this global rebalancing are immense. The institutions that have governed the post-war world, from the United Nations to the World Bank and the IMF, were designed for a different era. Their legitimacy and effectiveness are now being challenged by emerging powers who demand a greater say in how the world is run. New parallel institutions are already forming, like the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. The next decade will be defined by this struggle for influence as the old guard adapts to a multipolar world and new powers assert their rightful place on the global stage. We have journeyed to the edge of tomorrow, glimpsing a future that is rapidly approaching, a future where our jobs are redefined by artificial intelligence, our privacy becomes a relic of a bygone era, and our coastlines are redrawn by a changing climate. We have seen a world where our food is grown in labs, our destiny extends into the cosmos, and our very biology is subject to upgrade and revision. The old order of global power is fracturing, giving way to a new, uncertain, and multipolar world. The next 10 years will not be an extension of the present, they will be a rupture. The next 10 years will change everything. The question is, will you adapt or be left behind? Technology, climate, migration, and global power are colliding into a decade of disruption. You can fear it, or you can prepare for it, because the future isn't waiting. It's already here. The forces we have discussed are not distant possibilities. Their seeds are planted, their effects already beginning to ripple through our society. The challenge is not to predict the future with perfect accuracy, but to cultivate the resilience, the adaptability, and the wisdom to navigate it. This is not a prophecy of doom, but a call to awareness. It is a call to think critically about the world we are building, to engage in the difficult conversations about ethics, equity, and our shared destiny. The future is not something that happens to us. It is something we create through our choices, our innovations, and our collective will. Every decision we make today as individuals and as a global community will echo through this coming decade of transformation. The responsibility to shape a better future rests upon all of us. Will we rise to meet the challenge? Will we harness these powerful forces for the betterment of all humanity, or will we allow them to divide us? The path forward is not yet written. The choices are ours to make. The scale of the change before us is immense, the stakes have never been higher, and the time to prepare is now. The great transformation is upon us. The future is coming. Are you ready?